Hello, hello, and welcome to this channel, Highly Sensitive Wisdom. My name is Susanna, and today's topic is work and consciousness. Because, yes, work is rarely just a job, especially not for highly sensitive people. So, today I will be quoting from a book that has been with us for the last couple of videos. It's called Making Work Work for the Highly Sensitive Person by Barrie Jaeger, Ph.D. So, in the last video about emotions in the workplace, we were learning about the implicit expectations on us in the workplace, those things that are not described in the job description or the job ad as we apply for a position, but the emotional labor required by us, even though nobody tells us so explicitly, to remain professional and to do a good job. So today we're going to discuss more about different kinds of work, different kinds of how we feel at work, and this goes quite deep, as you will see as I start quoting. So this author, Barrie Jaeger, PhD, says she has developed a very useful, brilliant framework where she divides different kinds of workplaces and work conditions into three different categories. So it's drudgery, craft, and calling. So she skillfully describes what it feels like to be in each of those categories, drudgery, craft, or calling, and why it can seem so difficult to get out when you are stuck in drudgery, and also, what kind of outlook we have on life, what kind of outlook we have on our future, depending on which kind of category or workplace we are finding ourselves in. And she also explains, when we will see this, when we'll be quoting about calling, why work has so much to do with consciousness. And I will also be commenting a little bit on each. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe to the channel and give the video a like, and also share your aha moments and key takeaways in the description, in the comment section below, so that we can inspire and uplift each other. And thank you in advance for your participation. All right, so without further ado, so there will be a lot of quoting today, so stick with me. You will see that it will be worth it to stay until the end of the video, especially since we highly sensitive people, we are usually born with an innate sense that we are destined for something greater. We are not just destined to to carry out some regular 9 to 5 job where we will feel, bored at best or miserable at worst. But we are destined for something greater. We want to change the world. We want to leave an impact in this world. We want to, create a legacy with this lifetime on Earth. We want to do so many things. And usually we have a lot of creativity. And many of us have artistic abilities. We are here to do something different from just, fitting into some kind of mold. And just comply with other people's expectations on us. We are here for more. So it's very useful to have this framework by Barrie Jaeger, PhD, to understand if we are stuck in drudgery, for instance, so that we don't fall into the trap of believing that this will last forever, I will never get out, this is what my life will be like. And there will just be immense suffering in that if we get stuck in that kind of environment. And I have been stuck in drudgery in France. That's also why I suffered so horrendously there. You will see for yourself once I start quoting, and probably you can relate as well, dear watcher, because most of us have to work to make a living. So one or more of these will also apply to you, dear watcher. So let's get started. So first we have drudgery. So the author calls them, islands. She describes them as islands. I would rather describe them as dimensions, because when we're speaking about consciousness, it's more of, different kinds of dimensions. And but yeah, island, that's a great, description as well, because that gives the sense that, it's so difficult to get out, because if you're trapped on an island and you have nowhere to escape from an island, that's a brilliant image as well, of course. So let's see. So first I will quote from chapter 2, the worst kind of work, drudgery. So I quote, Drudgery Island. On Drudgery Island, home of the desolate, the discouraged, and the depressed, the sun beats down hard on your body and water is scarce. You have to watch out for scorpions, snakes, and sudden rocks fall from the cliffs. The water is bitter, what little there is of it. So you never get a cool, sweet drink to quench your thirst. And there's little shade. The nearby city is dreary and devoid of healthy vegetation, color, or any aesthetic beauty. Everyone walks around with balls and chains attached to their legs, like prisoners or slaves. Their cheerfulness seems forced. Housing is of poor quality, and there are no social activities or leisure time to bring people relief. It's just work, 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 and no one feels as if he gets any benefit out of his efforts. The workers here often feel at the mercy of another's whims, or worse, under siege. It's as if all they do just gets sucked into the powerful forces of the owner, management, boss, or some office prima donna. The people here are often depressed, exhausted, and some are physically sick as well. Rescue planes fly ahead, but no one seems able to shout loud enough to be heard. Wherever you go, high walls keep the island enclosed, and to the inhabitants, escape seems impossible. Every now and then, someone disappears, and rumor has it there was an escape. But beyond the high walls, it is empty space, vast sky, and clouds, with no sign of where you land. Many people want to escape, but they are too scared to jump, and so they end up making this place their home. Why drudgery is not just a job. The above imagery from Drudgery Island graphically describes what many people actually feel their work is like, both emotionally and physically. I feel trapped and I can't take it anymore are common refrains among sensitive people. And you do feel trapped, constricted, afflicted, and caught in a cage from which it seems you can't get out. You can even hear in the sigh of someone who groans, back to the grind. So if you feel drained, demoralized, or bored, or perhaps excessively challenged with increasing stress and health problems, you are in a drudgery job. End of quote. So dear watcher, have you ever been in a place like that? Drudgery? Yeah, that's horrible. For me, I was stuck in drudgery for years when I was living in France. I moved to France thinking I was working towards my calling and my mission and my career and, having big dreams, big plans, and, instead I found myself stuck on Drudgery Island, which was so much more difficult to get out from because I had to get out not only from drudgery job, but I also had to get out from an abusive romantic relationship where I suffered, psychological and spiritual violence. And I also had to move from one country to another to move back to my home country, Sweden. So yeah, those walls of Drudgery Island seemed, extremely difficult to escape from. While I was in it, and that's why it lasted for years before I learned how to get out. And I will share some of the things that I learned. But if you want some more content, to both see how the journey, the inner journey from getting out of a place like that, because it's not just about the physical conditions, it's not just about the work conditions, it's not just about the place you're in physically. It's so much more about what's going on inside you also. So I have recorded a few different videos already where I speak about my experience in France and extracting valuable wisdom from that to help others also uplift and inspire others who might be stuck in similar or trapped in similar places or similar life circumstances, and to give hope that no, this will not last forever. There are things that you can do to change. If you cannot change your circumstances, you can still change something within yourself, and yeah, there is help, to get out. So a few different videos you can watch are, the power of perception, the deception of perception, what to do when everything is chaotic. Um, yeah, three different kinds of mirrors that show you who you are and who you're not. Some of the videos about emotions as well, dealing with your emotions in a low vibrating world is also a good one in this context. Also the previous video, of course, emotions in the workplace. And also the one about dear HSP, you're not too sensitive, to learn to not believe in all of the narratives around our sensitivity. Because in these places of drudgery, no one is interested in the truth. And if you are feeling, miserable, chained, and you feel like a prisoner, you have no idea how to get out, you feel trapped, and eventually, if you stay long enough, those kind of statements will also get trapped in your own subconscious mind that will keep, you know, playing that on autopilot because the subconscious mind is a computer. So yeah, it's very complicated and very challenging to be stuck in a place like that, especially because your level of frustration grows, your level of despair grows, your level of panic grows, and you're like, what am I supposed to do? But we will move on now to so that you'll see that there are other things, other kinds of workplaces, other kinds of islands, as this author has said, other kinds of dimensions of consciousness that reflect better what you came here to the planet Earth to do, and that is more aligned with your nature as a highly sensitive person, all right? So I will quote from, let's see, which chapter is this? It's about craft. Chapter 5, Craft, the Confidence Builder. So I quote, Craft Island. This time we'll journey to an imaginary island quite different from the Drudgery Island in Chapter 2. It is filled with towns, marketplaces, playgrounds, trails, and farmlands. Everyone is learning and growing new skills and abilities. You can observe hustle and bustle among the denizens. Large kettles of soup and baking bread emit inviting odors. Dickens' Great Expectations for Covey's The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People are read and studied religiously. Everyone is full of big plans and projects. Sports teams have a waiting list of hopefuls. Schools and universities are filled with eager learners of all ages. The newest guru of some fandangled management theory always talks to a full audience. The tones are pleasant and the people seem healthy and busy. The people on Craft Island have an entirely different attitude about work and life from those on Drudgery Island. You can sense some Dilbert think still present, but not with the pervasiveness of drudgery. That's because the people in Craft realize that self-confidence is the key. No one can motivate you but yourself. No one can motivate you but you yourself. You're the one who has to make an effort to succeed. If you don't like the work, get out. This is a land of achievers and doers, always productive. They're eager to try out new things and master new skills. Yet, while there is a generally positive feeling about work, it is still just a job. Nevertheless, you can perceive lots of learning, growing, and challenge on Craft Island. It's not a bad place to stay by any means. So, what is craft? The above allegory is what the world looks like when people, freed from drudgery, are in craft. Clearly, a lot of creativity is released. Admittedly, this is an overly admiring vision of craft, based as it is on a contrast to Drudgery Island. Here, and then we'll skip a few lines. In fact, craft is a hybrid of drudgery and calling. The more I learn about craft, the more it reminds me of Dante's Purgatory, right smack in the middle between heaven and hell. Never too hot nor too cold. It lacks both the vast passion of calling or the acute pain and suffering of drudgery. Millions do very well here, and HSP will also do fine in craft, but we will not be so satisfied here, and we're still at risk for a slide down into hell. End of quote. Yeah, highly sensitive people, we are often quite spiritual people, and we want to be aligned with our soul. We want to, fulfill our soul purpose. We want to, we know that we are destined for more. We know that there's something, there is something inside us and calling us for more. So craft is a great thing, professionally speaking, because you develop your craft, you develop your skills, you develop your talents, you develop your competencies. And usually in craft, in craft professions or craft environments or institutions, there is usually a clear path that your career can take. So, you get into a craft, institution. It's quite, you know more or less what is expected of you, and you know the different steps you have to follow for your career to unfold. And yeah, that gives a sense of safety, security. Um, you can plan ahead for your future. And yeah, for many people, that is a great option. You know, for many people, that's a great option. But yeah, it could, if work conditions deteriorate, or you get work with a bad boss and so forth, or if there is bullying in the workplace, that could occur also in craft environments, and then it could become drudgery, even if it's more focused on the craft itself, the profession itself. So it's not so much about this suffering and despair and frustration and panic that you have in drudgery, but yeah, so somewhere in between, right? And then we will move on to what truly lights us up, which is calling, which is aligned with our soul, that which makes us wake up in the morning like, yay, a new day will begin, yay, I'm so excited, let's get started. That kind of energy, you only find that in calling, when you're like, yes, 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 that kind of enthusiasm, and that kind of energy, like, I want to get started with my day. That is in calling. And yeah, I have also had experiences with calling, and it is so much fun, I promise you. So I will quote now from chapter 10, Calling on the Edge of Paradise. So I quote, Calling Island. Our final journey to these imaginary islands is to a place filled with breathtaking panoramic landscapes that suggest we are entering paradise. The mountains rise to incredible heights, and the rivers and dense forests are rich with magic and deep valleys. As far as the eye can see, luxurious, cultured, aromatic, and colorful gardens span hundreds of miles. The massive waterfalls and glorious sunrises infuse this island with sound and visual delights. If you look carefully, you'll see a few cities so blended into the landscape that is difficult for the eye to discern when technology ends and nature begins. These cities are clean, aesthetic, architectural marvels, a welcome environment for humans and nature. The people on this island walk straight and tall, smile in a genuinely warm and friendly manner, and don't seem as hurried as those on Craft Island. Yet they are vital, alive, full of joy and energy, and seem to radiate self assurance. They are interested in everything, yet know their boundaries and can be selective. They exude confidence and peacefulness. You come across a group of them walking, a king, a chef, a professor, and a gardener, in animated discussion, at ease with each other. While they love to work, their way of working is quite different from that practiced by the denizens of Craft Island, let alone Drudgery Island. There's more conversation, more building of collaboration and cooperation, and they know what they want and aren't afraid to ask for it. The urgency common on Craft Island doesn't seem to be here, and yet obviously this is a place where much is accomplished. And the dreams they dream! So many ideas flow around them. These people love watching their ideas evolve and are unafraid if they change or dissolve, for their thoughts are more about answering life's questions than chasing after a permanent product or a task. They see themselves as artists of their lives, constantly creating new masterpieces. They love what they do and look forward to every new day. This is a world where dreams turn into creativity. On clear days from the peaks, you can see Drudgery and Craft Islands. Many residents of Calling Island used to live in Drudgery and Craft and will point out the landmarks and talk about their experiences, and they can laugh about it now. From this vantage point, the exits of those islands are obvious, easy to negotiate. But they remember what it was like when they were on Drudgery Island and how hard escape seemed to them at the time. What is a calling? Calling evokes strong emotional sentiments, so the above allegory is what a calling feels like. When we're in our calling, we do feel vast and immersed in eternal sunshine. It requires being open to our intuition and unfolding talents. One of the things I've noticed with healthy people who listen to their intuition, or the wisest part of themselves, is that whatever their intuition guides them to do, it always leads to something positive, healing, and constructive. Even if the direction hinted at requires us to stretch ourselves, it will be for the best and will experience change in a healthy, graceful, and mature way. A lot of people wonder, how do I find my calling? A to-do list doesn't find a calling. We are being our calling. Jumps from drudgery to craft, from craft to calling, are changes in consciousness. This is important. You can't be in drudgery and get it from a drudgery point of view. Many in craft will have a similar problem. Both drudgery and craft operate from a more practical, realistic point of view. For example, a visiting reporter from Craft Island asking how things are done here on Calling Island will become frustrated. Craft Island folks are used to how-to practical manuals, but Calling Island people have moved beyond being practical to merely being. Yes, the practical is there, but it's secondary, because all success flows from within the person, not from without. Also very important. If you've ever been in calling, you'll recognize this. If not, you may not get it without asking someone who is in a calling or taking a leap of faith. It's the leaps of faith that get us from one island to another. Also very important. It was noted in the chapter on craft that as happiness emerged in humanity, the need for work that expressed our bliss became a possibility. It's natural that we would want happiness in every aspect of our lives, and we live in a time when we can realize that possibility. End of quote. All right, so different, so different life experiences depending on what category you are in. If you're in drudgery, if you are in craft, if you are in calling, and so many highly sensitive people want to get to their calling. And yes, the author Barrie Jaeger, Ph.D, she does give guidance on how to get to one island, from one island to the other, and how to get out, even if it seems impossible at the time. So we cannot we cannot fall into the lie of believing that, oh, this is all there is for me, this is what my life will be from now on moving forward, I will never get out. Those are just lies, but yeah, those are very convincing lies when you're in the middle of it, because you just encounter problems, challenges, difficulties while you are on Drudgery Island. And so, how do you do it? So what I found when I was in France, and as I said, problems started on day one. And it was, there were problems nonstop. And I have never experienced so many problems in such a short amount of time. And it was like, what is happening? I just, it was just total frustration all of the time. And like, what is happening? What is going on? And life with a capital L guided me. I didn't have this book at the time. Well, I did find it while I was living in France. But I still needed some guidance from above, from the spiritual realm, to give me actual, action steps of what to do, how to get out. And that's what I described in the previous video that I mentioned, what to do when everything is chaotic. That's in the description below if you want to watch that one. What we have to do is to work on our consciousness. So many people fall into another trap that is also, oh, you want something better, then you have to educate yourself more. You have to take more formal trainings, whether academic trainings in a university, or some kind of professional trainings, or how to do training or sales techniques, whatever the case may be, right? And then we can end up accumulating trainings and certifications and qualifications, but still, if we have not changed something inside ourselves, those will just be good to have, so to speak, and will not necessarily translate into real actual change in our life situation and in our life quality. So we might need to work both inside ourselves, for instance, doing subconscious reprogramming. And I did record another video interviewing a client of mine with whom I have worked for more than 2 years on and off. That video is called Get Insider Information about what it's like to do energy work. I'll drop the link into that. I will drop the link to that video into the description below. But there could be other skills that are not, tied to the work itself or the craft itself or the profession itself that we need to develop, such as setting healthy boundaries. And I did record another video on boundaries, setting boundaries, the HSP. I'll drop the link to that video in the description below. There could be other skills that we need to develop that don't seem to be directly, linked to work, but that will change everything. Could be setting healthy boundaries, could be managing our time better, could be implementing, lifestyle changes to be able to have the infrastructure to support more growth and more success and being more in demand and being more aligned with our calling. And yeah, as I always say, we have to get to know ourselves really, really well. We have to know our own limits. We have to know, what comes from me and what comes from someone else. Because as highly sensitive people, we are very susceptible or vulnerable to absorbing both emotions and energies from our environment. And environment in this case means, other people, right? So whatever environment you are immersed in, if you're immersed in a very toxic environment, in a drudgery institution, a drudgery company, you will suffer so much more for the fact that you are highly sensitive, because you will feel it so much more intensely within yourself, and you will absorb so much more of other people's emotions and energies, which means that once you manage to get out, your process of healing and recovering and repairing will be so much, that path will be longer for you for the fact that you are highly sensitive. Someone else could, maybe take it off more easily, but for us, we have to be super selective and discerning very well before entering any workplace, any company, organization, and read between the lines and not just think that things will work out just because we put in our greatest efforts. Our efforts alone will not take us to where we want to go. There are so many other factors, participating in creating your outcomes. So yeah, what I would recommend truly is that don't focus only on oh, I need more training, I need more academic training, I need more professional training, I need more certifications, I need more qualifications, or I need to learn another language, or I need to do all of these things related to skills and competences that are indeed, or I have to learn to code, I have to learn to build websites, or I have to learn, whatever the case may be, I have to take all of these trainings, and you just accumulate, accumulate, and have all of these qualifications, and still you feel miserable at work, so that is usually not the answer. Could be the answer that you need more education, but from my experience and what I have observed also from other highly sensitive people, that usually we are very qualified already, we are very competent already. So usually it's some other kind of skill that we might need to develop, such as setting boundaries or time management or improving our confidence or being able to express, talk about ourselves without feeling like, oh, I'm in the spotlight, it's scary, being visible, speaking about what we have to offer, in a clear, straightforward way, and, show others the value we have to offer instead of just trying to become more valuable. Sometimes it's not a matter of learning more or accumulating more skills, as I said, but, verbalizing, speaking about what we have to offer and speaking in a convincing way, speaking in ways that land with others, so that others will want to give us an opportunity, and yeah, don't stay too long if you feel happy in an environment, because that will backfire. So yeah, there is no, one formula for all, one fits all formula, like how do you find your calling, how do you do it. But yeah, you need to get to know yourself very well. You need to align with what your soul wants, and not only stay up here in the mind. And I have recorded also videos about the matrix. You can watch, for example, decoding the matrix in real life. I'll drop the link to that video in the description below. So yeah, there are so many forces in society, so many agendas, and so many things trying to force us to fit in to a certain format, like the masses have to go here. And I've also recorded another video called how to get out of the hamster wheel, or how to transcend the hamster wheel rather. I'll drop the link to that video in the description below. Because when we are in drudgery, it often feels like we're just spinning our wheels, but we don't get anywhere. We are trapped in the hamster wheel. And that is also by design in this world, to keep the masses stuck on hamster wheels, just spinning their wheels without getting anywhere, adding frustration, developing severely, passive aggressive people who take out their frustration on each other instead of looking up and, seeing what the higher ups in the world hierarchy, the elite, what they are doing. And then we take it out on each other and, fight each other, also according to the very known principle divide and conquer by Machiavelli. So that is also, there are so many things combined to making, life difficult, more difficult than necessary for the masses. So that is not only the responsibility of a certain organization or a certain, workplace or a certain, company. Obviously, the company has a lot of responsibility, but it's not only that, because we're all part of the same global system. And as the world becomes increasingly globalized with the internet, with travels, so easily available, and cheap travel also, in my parents' generation, let alone my grandparents' generation, that was unheard of. That was unimaginable, being able to travel, so much. I mean, my parents had only traveled within Europe. It was unheard of, to travel to other continents like I have. I lived in Europe, and I've also lived in South America. I mentioned that in many videos now. I've traveled a lot. I have lived more than 15 years abroad on two different continents, Europe and South America. But that was unheard of in previous generations, So there are a lot of things, many factors combined in creating our experiences, right? But work, that is such an important part, because we spend so many hours per day and so many years of our life at work. So we have to make work work. We cannot, waste our precious time on planet Earth in a workplace that makes us miserable. We owe it to ourselves to, make something more out of our time on Earth, instead of just being trapped in hamster wheels and being miserable at work, So we owe it to ourselves. But a few more videos I want to recommend based on what she said here, the author, about calling. She mentioned intuition. So there's another video I have recorded, The Power of Intuition. I'll drop the link to that in the description below. And I have taken many leaps of faith in my life. And most of those leaps of faith have created something, beautiful, wonderful, hopeful, something that has shifted my way of thinking, that has opened doors for me that I didn't even know were possible, So when we receive these nudges from within, that those nudges, they don't come from you, they come from, from above. So listen to those. Don't let your fears get in the way, or your rational thinking, like, oh no, that's not realistic. That's not possible for me. It's possible for other people, but not for me. Or no, that's too much work. Or it's too difficult to change. Or all kinds of narratives that others tell us and that we tell ourselves. But we also have to just shake those opinions off. Opinions are like the weather; they don't carry weight unless they come from experts who have worked extensively and done the research, thoroughly about the topic they are speaking about. Their opinion carries weight. But opinion from just anyone, people in your social circle, social setting, usually they don't carry a lot of weight. So you don't have to listen so much to other people's opinions, and definitely don't listen to your own fears. Listen to those nudges from within that are pushing you forward because they are guiding you. And yeah, I've also recorded videos about how you can develop your relationship with God, because aligning your life path with the will of God for your life, that is the surest path to your calling. That is the surest path to, you know, to get into your calling, and without all of the sacrifices and all of the efforts and all of the, all of the struggles. You cannot do everything on your own. You need to also, accept help, on your journey. So one video you can watch is Deepen Your Relationship with God and Receive Your Blessings. I'll drop the link to that video in the description below. Another video also that is important in this context is the 3 biggest lies you've ever been told. I'll drop the link to that in the description below. And yeah, I think with these videos that I have mentioned, you have a good start. You have a good start to start thinking about these things in maybe a new way for you, from a fresh perspective, with a solid framework that truly works, which is described in this book, Making Work Work for the Highly Sensitive Person by Barrie Jaeger, Ph.D. She specializes in helping highly sensitive people, specifically when it comes to workplace and work issues and career advice and so forth. So she truly knows what she's talking about, and she has plenty of experience working with highly sensitive people specifically. And yeah, I do encourage you truly to also look into subconscious reprogramming. When we work with subconscious reprogramming, we are, that gives leverage. And yeah, I am a certified emotion code, body code, belief code practitioner, in addition to being a psychologist. When we work with energy work, we are creating leverage. So we don't only rely on our own effort or the time we put in or the effort we put in, but we also align the functioning of our subconscious mind with, our conscious efforts that come from the conscious mind, which only represents 1% of our global mental capacity. So we don't have to rely only on our own efforts, because that's usually what we are being told, work harder. If you want something different, work harder. No, don't work harder, work smarter. Be strategic, and invest wisely your resources, and always invest in yourself first. And success will follow, you know. So don't exhaust yourself in the wrong environments with the wrong people. Be wise and be selective and be strategic, That's also how you'll be able to tap into your calling. By going inwards and listening to the guidance you receive and the intuition you have that will guide you forward, because we don't know, as humans, we don't know what will happen in the future, but God knows, and God is guiding you already if you're only willing to listen and take inspired action inspired by your intuition and the nudges you receive from the spiritual realm, and not action taken out of fear. Because action taken out of fear, that can also cause a lot of problems for us, and keep us stuck in unhealthy dynamics or in unhealthy environments. So don't align with your fear, align with your intuition, and accept divine guidance, because God knows what will happen in the future, and God knows what God created you for. God created us for a specific purpose, and that's what calling is all about when we align with that. So, dear watcher, I will start wrapping up. I hope this video has been useful and giving you some food for thought and showed you some different perspectives. As always, take care, stay hydrated, keep learning, and bye for now. I'll see you soon in another video.